Oh, happy to have everybody here again with another amazing guest I got to meet when I went off to a beautiful retreat in Canmore, Alberta, in the Rocky Mountains last year. Got so many amazing souls that I got to meet from there. And this is Amy Bai. She's in Calgary and she is also from the UK, and you'll get to hear her amazing accent, learn some of her wonderful stories behind the scenes. She's a holistic well-being practitioner. She's a certified aromatherapy health practitioner for over 18 years, both in the UK and here. And she is also the founder and the remedy maker behind Luna Rose. And I got to sample some of these amazing, amazing remedies in person, and amazing, beautiful, beautiful stuff. So it's a Canadian grown business in the Rockies, and a lot of these beautiful remedies she's for healing, for hormones, for all kinds of amazing, amazing things. And they are available for purchase online in her beautiful little store. And so her passion kind of behind this work that she does is kind of driven from all kinds of pieces in her own life, which I will dive into in a little bit, and going through her own journey of wellness and reconnection back to self, going through anxiety, all the stuff, changing countries, doing all the things, having little ones at home, and still wanting to get herself out there and help people to navigate this world we live in. It's very busy, fast paced. We were just chatting about summer and how busy summer is. It's a very high energy time, especially in Canada, because we get a little window of time of the beautiful weather that we want to pack it all in. And yeah, so through the journey of plant based medicine, aromatherapy, Reiki healing, breath work, all kinds of things, Amy is just a wealth of knowledge and such an amazing soul. So let's hear a little bit more about your journey to where you find yourself today in your work and the inspiration behind all of this. Welcome. So great to have you here.
What an introduction.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here and to chat with you. And we had such a lovely time
Yeah.
at the Rock and Restorative Retreat last year. And it was so wonderful to connect with you. And all of those inspiring chats, it was one day, but it felt like we had known each other for much longer than that. It
Absolutely.
was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a lovely
Soul
retreat. And you
sisters.
came to the
Yeah.
Absolutely. It really felt like that, actually. Yeah, with a lot of people at that retreat, it really felt like there was such a deep and authentic connection.
Yes.
And yeah, and you came to my workshop and we got to indulge in some of Luna Rose Remedies. And that was lovely. It was such a blessing to be able to do that and to be able to indulge with you and the participants. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great because, there's so many things, and I find that a lot of us that are really working with community now, so many people are seeking that groundedness, that sense of being, so we can disconnect from this, really chaotic world we're in. We're doers right now, and we're spinning pretty fast. So a lot of the things that that we both offer in our spaces, just a little bit differently, is helping people to come home back in, instead of being outside their bodies in all of this stuff going on, we're bringing them back in here and reconnecting them to themselves and allowing them to learn how to be again. So
Yeah,
I don't know
totally agree.
yeah, and I don't know if you're noticing that in your work, and even as you're preparing and as you're doing other, workshops and retreats and helping people as well. I don't know if you're noticing that
Yeah,
same and essence and energy that's going on out there.
I am. And you know what I keep coming back to at the moment is just thinking, I feel like the deeper that I am, our work is ever changing. And the deeper that I'm diving into the work that I'm being called to at the moment,
Mhm.
the more I'm thinking and feeling and hearing that we're not designed to live like this.
No.
We're not designed to live in this way. And this isn't how our ancestors intended us to live and to be. And they did the work.
Yeah.
And I think this is why society that we are struggling so much. And we're finding it harder and harder and harder to find the space to ground our energy I feel like we are just becoming so consumed by modern day living, and I just don't think it aligns with our DNA, our soul print, however you want to describe your essence. I just feel like we're not aligned to that. And I really feel like we're constantly being pulled away from the simplicities of life, just having your feet anchored on the ground and just being connected to the ever-changing seasons and to nature.
Yeah.
There's always a distraction. And I just think we're really, as a society, I know I can put my hand on my heart and say that it is a struggle, and it is something that we have to be really mindful of. And I'm really, really mindful of that for my family, for my loved ones, for the people that are in my life, for my clients, for my community. It's something that we have to keep coming back to all the time and kind of trying to simplify being and living in this world. And how do we do that? It's, yeah, it's
Well,
hard, and it's an everyday practice.
it is, and I think that if we are able to look at it even in micro moments, when I go out into nature and I'm looking right now, the wildflowers are incredibly in full bloom, and it's so beautiful. And
Yeah,
a little while ago, something came across, and I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but I always do this. And I'm going out and I want to see, how many flowers there are, seeing the butterflies, seeing the, just tuning off all the busyness and chatter, and going into the micro moments, which is smelling that daisy, looking at the fireweed, seeing that beautiful butterfly and just watching its wings go, and it has no idea how beautiful and magnificent it is, but it is just in the moment and existing. And the bees collecting the pollen, and their little arms with the pollen all over them, and they're just doing what they do. And,
absolutely.
they don't seem to change their patterns and their pace, but we do. But, having those micro moments reminds me, anyways, of that pause and that slow down and that super, super present way of being,
Yeah,
and
I
I,
agree.
when you're out there and you're in your garden and you're planting and you're growing and you're harvesting, I'm assuming that's very similar. That brings you so purposeful and present.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really connected to nature. Every summer, I feel that goes by, and just having my hands in the dirt. And over the last few years, I've really taken it upon myself to really dive into gardening and
Yeah.
to learn about all these different plants that we can grow. It's very different here. The environment, the ground, the
Yeah.
um, climate is very different here to in England.
Yeah.
And I'm having a ball. I'm having a great time in my garden, learning about all these different plants and flowers, how I can use them for remedies, how I can, and get my kids involved. They love to harvest the calendula, and they see the process from planting the seeds to deadheading the calendula to infusing them in oils and then making them into remedies that we can
Yeah.
use throughout the winter and making tea. And what I didn't realize, it was about 3 or 4 years ago, actually, when we moved into this home, that I really indulged in gardening and really kind of got my hands really into it.
Yeah.
I thought I was finding it, but actually I can really appreciate now that it was finding me. And I think it was a deeper calling to my work that I do with plants and aromatherapy and working with plants, but in a different way. I'm working with them after the essential oil has been extracted from the matter.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm having a great time actually planting
Hmm.
the flowers and really using them in that kind of way and having my hands deep in the earth. And I really love having that time where I can just be. I put my kids to bed and I'm out in my garden in the evening, and that's when I do my watering, and I'm, doing a little bit of weeding, and the sun is just setting, and it's just such a sacred moment.
It
And
is.
I feel really grounded. And I need that. My energy needs that. My being needs that. I need to be able to, and the older I'm getting,
Hmm.
the more I can truly appreciate that I really need that daily practice. I need to be intentional about grounding.
Yeah.
and just being in nature. And this is why I love summer so much, is that connection to nature in that really sacred way, and in a different way to what I've been doing for my whole career. I've been working with plants for 20 years, but now I'm working with them in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's lovely. It's brilliant. But I needed it. It found me because I needed it in that moment. I really needed it. I needed to be more intentional about grounding and earthing. And I think it was almost like the universe was showing me that I need to teach my kids this. They're going to need that in their life. They need to know how to utilize the earth and the plants for mental, emotional, and physical health and well-being. That we can't rely on external things. It has to be, it's here on the land.
It is. It is very important. And I think, with us going back to our roots, we are showing the younger generations, you know, whether it's our own children or, their friends or other families or whoever we're meeting along the path. That is such an important piece. I almost take it for granted. I was born on a farm. I lived in my bare feet most of the time. I was with the animals and the plants and nature. And now I'm like, find myself reconnecting in a deeper way, definitely to that inner child in me that remembers all of those pieces, but remembering what it did for me and what the gift it was. And I think I just lived it. I didn't realize that I would see it differently, at age 50 than I did when I was, 3 and 4 years old. So it's almost like that circle of life. It's like that circle is going to reconnect us back, because if we look at it from a spiritual way or an energetic way, we come from the earth. We are part of nature. Our cycles are a part of nature. We're a part of the seasons, all of the things. And when we come back home to that is when our nervous system and our mind can quiet, our nervous system can heal. And you're combining all sorts of other pieces in there that are also other tools that people can use while they're grounding. Like you've got your oil just to keep you, I'm just going to be centered. I'm going to have a smell, and right. And it's those little things that we forget. And I use a lot of this essential oils with both of my girls, had anxiety and all kinds of things. And we found ones that worked for, the tummy upset or the anxiety or all the things that are going on. And instead of, other ways we could have gone that actually didn't work anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're not aligned with us as a human being in this world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because our ancestors would have looked to the land and would have sought healing and remedies. And this is something that dates back in terms of aromatherapy. This is something that, it dates back thousands and thousands of years, that we have been using nature and plant remedies for rituals and sacred ceremonies and embalmment and, all sorts of things to warn off evil, negative energies. We've been using it for centuries. This isn't a new way. It isn't a new practice. It's nothing new age about this. This is just ancestral. It's in our DNA that this is exactly how our ancestors lived. And I truly believe that if we can find that wisdom again, I really do think we can make life a little more simple. And if we can find nature, and if we can find those little, and it might not be essential oils, it might be breath work, it might be meditation, it could be a yoga practice, whatever it is. I think if we can find what works for us and our energy and what feels really good to our nervous system, I do think we can make life a little more simpler. I think we can just try and escape the busyness and the chaos and the kind of out there world that brings upon so much stress and anxiety. We can just let that go just for a moment or two and come back to ourselves. Yeah. And I think this is the work that we have to do in our generation to teach the youngers, because this was something that was passed down generation after generation after generation, and then it's been forgotten. We've forgotten in the AI generation, in the the technology, which absolutely serves a purpose, but I do feel like we've completely been consumed by it, and now we've lost our way. We've lost the simple ways of life. the simple ways of being in our nervous system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you went through that. I mean, that's kind of what led you, onto the journey that you're on through the emotional and physical stuff that you had to go through on your own side that led you down the path to reconnect to this, not even knowing, you know, now you can look back and go, yeah, the ancestors were guiding me to this. They knew that's what was going to heal me, and here I find myself on this path. And I think,
Yeah.
opening ourselves up to remembering that knowledge, that's like you said, it's in our DNA, but how do we remember that? And that's what you and I get to do, is hold space, open the door, walk alongside people, invite them in, and let them try some of these things, because what works for you may not work for me, but maybe a combination of two things do. And
Absolutely.
here's the smorgasbord. Let's build you a beautiful toolkit of amazing things, whether
Absolutely.
it's a combination of beautiful scents and remedies that will help us, along with the breath, like even just putting a drop, and like you taught us to do, just rubbing our hands together and just closing our eyes and into that breath, and just
Mm-hmm.
bringing ourselves into the moment again. And so, it's very interesting. You've combined a lot of different modalities that all work together very beautifully, and how did you get there? You found it through, through trying things and being drawn to things. And I mean, the energy and the movement, the breath and the earth all go together, so
Absolutely.
what is I know you've done quite a bit of the Reiki and the body work and the breath work training. And what is your favorite? Like, do you have a favorite, or do you love a combination of all the things that you do in your work?
I feel like aromatherapy will always be the number one for me. I think that my sense of smell is the practice I go to. My number one first, I go to that to help calm and regulate.
Yes.
And a combination of aromatherapy and breath work for me is so incredibly powerful. And that really helps me come back into my body. And exactly what you said. So just putting a drop or two of essential oil in the palm of your hand, and
Mhm.
then bringing that to your nose, cupping it over your nose, and just taking 3 nice deep inhales and exhales, being conscious, being mindful.
Mhm.
That might take 10 seconds, and it just instantly brings me back to myself. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, aromatherapy is my number one. Very closely breathwork second, I would
Yeah,
say. And it's almost like a perfect marriage,
it
because
is.
you've got the scent, which, and it depending on which essential oil that you're using.
Yeah.
For me, I tend to love the more calming and grounding and the nourishing essential oils, rather than I find that I'm quite an energized person anyway, so I do need a lot of calming.
Yeah.
But pairing a certain essential oil with a calming and relaxing breath work together,
Mhm.
they're the perfect marriage, because they build on each other. You're using the aroma to calm, you're using the breath work to help uh, stimulate that parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system. Just a
Mhm.
perfect marriage. Really powerful.
Very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you find that really is helping people to disconnect from that constant busy chatter and let go of that, just even if it's for a session or a little bit? I know you obviously witness it and see it in people. Do
Mm.
you see can you see their bodies shifting, and I mean, you're watching their breath, you're talking them through, like, what do you notice first in people? Like, how long does it take them? You said about 10 seconds. Is that about the same when you're kind of doing a group and you can kind of feel them, or is it just on their own? Each one's
Yeah,
different.
I think I would say it's individual. I feel like when I am teaching a workshop, I'll have, some people will come and they might have come from just finished work, or if it's in the evening, maybe just put the kids to bed, and they're quite kind of in that sympathetic nervous system, quite high energy, and
Yeah.
it takes them a little while to come back down and come back into themselves, while other people might be a little more grounded and come in, and it might be easier to drop in and to become present. So
Mhm.
it's very individual. I would say on average, once I have people kind of taken a few intentional breaths, I always start my sessions by, taking 3 deep, nourishing, intentional breaths. And after those 3 breaths, and we haven't even touched scent, we haven't even indulged in any breathwork techniques, I can instantly see the shoulders drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's incredible, actually. It's just, and you can almost see it in their face, like, wow, oh my gosh, it just took 3 breaths. And that is the 10 seconds. And I think we can all, I really do think, especially with breath work, is I think we tend to look at it as it needs to be this whole hour session, and we need to be crying and screaming and going through our whole trauma, that kind of a thing. And absolutely, that is a small segment of breath work. But there are so many other beautiful and incredibly powerful techniques that we don't need an hour. We don't need to be screaming and crying. We don't need to be touching on any of the trauma. We can let that just sit there, and we can just work on being present and work on dropping from that sympathetic, which is our fight and flight, high energy, into the parasympathetic, rest and digest, calming, centered, grounding. And actually, I think that is a practice that is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
I think if we find the tool that works for us, that allows us to drop from that sympathetic to that parasympathetic, and we can tap into that through our daily routine, our daily lives, that's the gold.
Yeah.
Because this is what we are searching for. If we're really truly honest with ourselves, that's exactly what we're searching for. We are exposed to so many stresses and so much throughout our day that just finding something that works, if that is just 3 breaths, coming back to our thought and dropping those shoulders and then clenching the jaw, that's the gold. Yeah.
Well, and I think that, what comes to my mind is, if we even had, I just have, like you have your, like I said, your little bottle with you. And it's almost like, if we have something throughout the day that's there as a reminder to pause and breathe, take that breath, bring us back. Because I will see in days that I'm super busy, I'm very shallow breathing. I'm not taking that deep breath and just pausing. And when I notice that, I intentionally then come back to that. But it's amazing how quick you can be brought out of that. And you're just literally, you're just like, you're not even deep, and you're not meaning to, but
Absolutely.
because of your schedule and the busyness and going from thing to thing, you're not really aware of what you're not doing. And we need that breath. And we wonder why even our lungs aren't as strong as they used to be, because we're not really expanding and contracting even just that part, right? So
Absolutely.
so I guess what would be interesting is you could have, a little reminder, or you could have your whatever, scented oil works for you. Even if it's like every hour, I'm going to have it right on my desk or right by my computer. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to smell it, and I'm just going to breathe for a sec and then go back in. I mean, we should probably do it more than once an hour, but what I'm just thinking is, like, having that visual reminder, or having, whatever it is that can remind us to be in that space. It'll help us with clarity and our work, like being more present in what we do, instead of just rushing through all the things. And it's,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's fascinating. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, which was really interesting, is you kind of had this time in the UK that you were in a inner house of tranquility monastery, and I would love to know the journey of that, and a bit more about it. Like, how did you get there, and what was it like, and how is it kind of played into all the things that you've done that we've already talked about? This was prior to coming to Canada, right? So.
It was just prior. It was just prior. So I was still in the monastery when we were going through our visas to immigrate to Canada. Yeah. Yeah. I remember, I think my last session was like 2 days before I immigrated, which was very much needed. This was a beautiful, but yet a small segment of my time really in England, because I was only in the monastery for around about 12 months. And how I initially found it was through a lovely friend and work colleague who I was working with at the time. So I was actually teaching aromatherapy and holistic therapy in the UK. I taught for 7 years before I immigrated to Canada. And I worked with this lovely lady. She actually worked in another campus, so I didn't work with her too often. But every time, I must have worked with her maybe 3 times a month. And on our lunch breaks, we would always have these beautiful conversations about the universe and meditation. And I was practicing a lot of yoga at the time when I was in England. I found that about 2012, yoga and meditation. So I was just wanting to talk to whoever I could. I was like, oh my gosh, you love meditation too, and the powerful the universe is, and that kind of thing. And she was telling me that about the monastery, and she had been going there for, oh my gosh, it must have been like 8 years or something. She'd been going there for a long time, and she would go to, so part of the monastery was, when you sign up and you start, you do a 3-day silent retreat, and then they would expect every 6 months for you to do this 3-day silent retreat to be part of it, and that kind of a thing. Anyway, I was fascinated by this, and I was, I really wanted to dive deeper into meditation and learning a little bit more about Buddhism and the art and the power of mindfulness, really just throwing myself into it. And so I remember going to my first session with her, and I met with her a little bit beforehand, and we walked down together, and she introduced me to the lovely people that were there, and everybody kind of had a volunteer role. So a couple of people would make some tea to have beforehand, and some other people would bring in some like baked goods so we can have some baked goods and that kind of a thing. It was such a beautiful community. And we would start off, so we would have a cup of tea before and have a little chit chat, and then we would go in, and each session, so it would be every Wednesday, and each session would be a different length of meditation. So it would be, I think it was like 30 minutes and then an hour, and then one of them was like an hour and a half, and that would be like a once a month thing. And then afterwards we would go into the library, and this library was just incredible. It had so many amazing books, and you could take the books out and bring them back next week, and it was all about meditation, and lots obviously about Buddhism, and it was just amazing. And then we would have a talk. Someone would be presenting, and that might be a 20-minute presentation on a certain topic. And it was just, I learned so much during my time going to this monastery, and like how that meditation, but on a totally different level. And really about that, it's not just meditation isn't about being quiet and still in the mind and not thinking, and it really isn't. It's about acceptance, and it's about being present, and it's about acknowledging what comes up and giving it space and time, and then letting it go. And my gosh, is that a practice? It's really hard to be in to allow your mind to work in that way. And I found, to start with, I found the longer meditations really hard, and I would get really antsy towards the end, and I would start to move and kind of open my eyes a little bit and look around and sort of think, what? But over time it became easier and easier, and I think as I was learning more and really diving into the theory behind it and Buddhism ways, and how meditation was absolutely not what I was expecting it to be at all, and just letting go of those expectations, it was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I am so incredibly grateful for my time there, and to be accepted into the community, and to be able to really have that experience was just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's amazing to have that experience before you made a very large life change too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it actually prepared me. I moving to Canada was absolutely in my soul path. I knew that I'd been to Canada a couple of times before I moved here. And the last time I was here was back in 2010. And I remember leaving and just feeling like a piece of my heart had been left in Canada. I knew that I needed to be here. And so preparing to say goodbye to my friends and family and to like leave my UK life, knowing, and I knew that as soon as my feet touched ground in Canada, I wasn't going back to the UK again. I wasn't living there again. It was my home. And so to close that chapter and to kind of move into my new chapter, I'm so happy that I had the monastery and that community, because it really helped me to open my heart and my mind and prepare me for that closing of the chapter, because that was hard. That was really hard. That was hard to say goodbye. That was hard to follow the path. And most of the time it is, isn't it? Most of the time it is, when we're following our heart. It's so hard and we resist it, and but yeah, it prepared me. It really did.
But it's interesting how following your path led all those things into your path to help prepare you for the new chapter, right? And I think when we're so much in our body and in our hearts, and we lead with our hearts, all that's what happens. It things show up, people show up, experiences show up when we're really deeply connected and trusting. And so, I mean, that obviously was very, very much for you. And so when you're working with people, that's what you're bringing to them, is that knowing and that experience. And yeah, saying goodbye or saying see you another time is not easy, but like you're being so strongly pulled in this other direction for bigger reasons than you probably even know or knew then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only knew a tenth of what I knew now in terms of being led to this chapter, and it's opened up so many beautiful and new beginnings, and really deep my own practice and my own path. Yeah, amazing.
And it must be interesting to look at. I mean, you were doing some similar type work, obviously, and in aromatherapy, but now because you also had to recertify, it's like it brought you to, so that you're really deeply connected within Canada and within Calgary and with the mountains where you are now, because you actually had to go through and recertify, which is I don't know, was that a reconnection or was that a new connection? You've already done it, but yet now you're doing it here. It's kind of interesting.
New and reconnection, I would say. A lot of the theory that we touched on I already knew, but also we were exploring so many new essential oils that I never would have in the UK. Being introduced to Suga, Canadian hemlock, white spruce. It was just, these native oils of Canada, which are actually now my favorite, and I go to them probably most days. I don't think I could live without Suga and white spruce now. It was brilliant, and also opening myself to a new community, and also the biggest difference for me was aromatherapy in England is very well known.
Yes.
Everybody knows about aromatherapy. Most spas and holistic practitioners, yoga instructors, teachers, it's so widely known. Whereas I felt here in Canada it was still so new. And I think I had to recertify to match my credentials and to be able to practice in the way that I do now, and be hands-on, and to be able to customized blends and that kind of a thing. I had to recertify, and that was almost 10 years ago now. And even then I felt that aromatherapy, as soon as you kind of said aromatherapy, it was like, oh, I'm not so sure. But essential oils was seen as a multi-level marketing thing. Yes. Oh, that's and then they would name a multi-level marketing essential oil company or brand or that kind of a thing. And so it was just so new. Which was exciting, but also extremely daunting as well, because I'd come from the UK where I was so incredibly busy, and it was just so widely known, and everybody knew about aromatherapy, and everybody had an aromatherapy blend at home and that kind of a thing. Whereas here I felt that there was a lot of teaching, there was a lot to kind of, it was almost like a blank slate to start from. Yeah.
But that's interesting, because that led you into where you are with, with Luna Rose.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Luna Rose initially, so I launched Luna Rose at the back end of 2018. I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, who is now 6.5. And I launched it as a product-based business only. So I was handcrafting, formulating the aromatherapy blends and retailing them online. And I very quickly realized that, I have a teaching degree, and teaching is a passion and part of my purpose.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized that actually I could use this new, aromatherapy being so new and a novel practice here in Canada. I could use that to my own advantage almost. I could use it and really pull in the teaching aspect of things, and I could teach it, and I could carry out workshops and teach at retreats, and
Yeah.
bring that knowledge and bring that wisdom and the education to the communities here who are ready to learn and want to know a little bit more about aromatherapy and plant remedies and how we can utilize nature
Yeah.
for healing. So, and that's what I did. I very quickly, and so it's interesting now actually how Luna Rose has evolved in such a short space of time, where it was only product based to now actually products are just a small portion of what I do,
Yeah.
which is really and very cool.
Yeah. But you don't know what you don't know until you start, right?
Yeah,
And but being open to that evolution of, that dream and that vision that you have, and allowing it to expand and change and morph into other things, and allow, that the growth in that, because that's drawing you to where you need to be, and teaching. And yeah, I didn't know you had the teaching background either, so that's fascinating, but it makes sense because you're, taking all of those beautiful skills that you have, and then you're making something completely unique and different that hasn't been done before, and I think that, that is how most people are like naming off all the different companies and things like that. And, when I met you, I was like she's literally, putting this stuff together. And just the way that you taught us, it was like I could be in the dirt, in the garden with you, and I could feel going through the forest and learning about these things. And I think when we connect ourselves to that experience, it's so different, and those oils then become different. And
absolutely.
it's very different experience than going off and just buying a thing of lavender because, whatever. But actually taking it and making it, or, going through the experience in a very different way, it just allows for so much ex- I don't know, expansion is the word that comes in, because it just brings so much more into that space that you can then utilize in your everyday life.
Yeah, and I feel like that's always been something that I've been incredibly passionate about, and something I feel really, yeah, passionate about is I want people to, when you're using the oil, when you're connecting to nature in this way, is I want you to know the plant. I want you to really
Yes.
know the plant, really know it, and not just use it because lavender smells really lovely, and I hear that it's really good for sleep, so I'm going to pop a couple of drops on my pillow or into the diffuser. I feel like we, as our human being, as we're using these amazing remedies, is to offer people the opportunity to dive in a little bit deeper and really get to know the plants, and really get to, that this is nature, this is grown in nature, this has had roots deep, deep, deep into the earth. These are the chemical components. This is why it works. It's not just
Yes.
because it smells nice. It's actually because of X, Y, and Z, that kind of
Yeah.
a thing. Education
Yeah.
is, yeah, I'm very passionate about education and really getting to know
Hmm.
Mother Nature, our nature kingdom, in a
Hmm.
unique and, yeah, on a deeper level, on a more connected level.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's very interesting when you take people out into nature, and you allow or invite them to reconnect to, using all of their senses, to
Mm.
be there and quieting, turning off the devices, just wandering and smelling. Like in the summer, I always notice that, if it's drier and warm, then you get all the needles of the trees smell different. The dirt smells different. That everything's, everything's different. Or after a fresh rain, I love this. One of my favorites. You get that freshness, and everything kind of wakes up again. And so I know I do that when I do my forest therapy walks and my, intentional stuff out in nature, and we're guiding, we're doing meditation that way, whether we're doing a walking meditation, we're doing a seated meditation, we're doing a tea ceremony. I'm guiding people through their senses within the season to, connect with the trees, to connect with the plants, to connect with the birds and the elements, all the things. So very, similar, but you're also, same thing. It's like, okay, can I smell that spruce tree? Can I hug that spruce tree? Can I feel the bark of that spruce tree? Can I imagine the roots of that spruce tree going deep into the earth and nourishing? Like, I mean, we don't even realize what goes on underneath the surface of the earth,
If only we could see. If only we
right?
could see. Wouldn't that be so cool?
It's so amazing because I know
Yeah,
for me, when I'm barefoot or even if I've just got my hands on a tree, I mean, you can feel the heartbeat of the tree. You can feel the energy. You can feel just the wisdom and everything that it holds for you. And it's such an amazing experience. So when you understand that part of it, and then you have the essential oil that goes with that, it's just like, wow. Like there's that, that extra connection. And if you look at our ancestors, if you look hundreds of thousands of years ago, well, they were barefoot. They were with the plants. They were harvesting per season. They were out using all the remedies that nature offered, whether they're, sleeping on the ground or they're harvesting a plant, you know?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So it's fascinating how, I mean, you and I are bringing people back to their roots, literally.
yeah. And I think that comes back to what we were talking about earlier. About I think that if we can bring them back to the roots, it's almost like something clicks into place. It's like
Yeah. The remembering.
it's remembrance.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. The remembrance that there is something so sacred within us. And once we are reintroduced to these practices,
Mhm.
because our essence hasn't forgotten it, our soul hasn't forgotten it. I think this is, it's not a forgotten. So when we're reintroduced to this, it's almost like something clicks. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, absolutely. If I can just put my hands on this tree, if I can think about that, if I'm feeling out here, and if the world has become so chaotic, let me think about a tree. Just think about the symbolism of a tree.
Yeah.
It's stable, it's sturdy, its roots are deep, deep, deep into the earth.
Mhm.
It's stable, but it also has a little bit of flexibility. So how about we indulge in that energy for our own, to bring that
Yeah.
into our own energy body? That
Yeah.
if we introduce ourselves to this aroma, if we can anoint ourselves with a little bit of pine essential oil, that is so good for calming and supporting the adrenals, really helping to connect to that I can also be stable. I can also be grounded, and I can be a little bit flexible. I can move with it, but I'm going to be anchored and stable in my place as well.
Yeah.
Really utilizing the plants in that way. If you pick up I don't know if you've ever smelled, geranium or rose. Wild rose here in Alberta at the moment is abundant. The wild rose season is
Yeah.
everywhere. And if you smell a rose, it just it just takes you back. It takes you somewhere. You can just
Yeah.
smell the feminine energy, the embodiment of femininity within that rose. And yeah, and rose is the most sacred, essential oil for embodying the female energy.
Yeah.
There is a remembrance there, and there is so much wisdom if we can allow space. If we can just give ourselves a moment to connect with nature and just to be
Mhm.
present with it,
Yeah.
just to be present with the tree and the ground and the earth, and taking a couple of deep breaths while you have your hand in the dirt and you're weeding, just
Yeah.
weeding around your garden, and just, yeah, some
Yeah.
remembrance.
And I love that because that is what we're doing, and that's how we're helping people to reconnect back to themselves is
Yeah.
finding that space and that remembrance and that knowing and that connection to the ancestors, to history, to all of those things we all carry. We also carry the heavy load of things that we don't need to carry, So as we help people to unload that stuff and the things that no longer serve, and the stuff that, we're not meant to carry, and we then reload with the things, those things that don't weigh so much, they're not so heavy. And
Mm.
it's very interesting to see how I love, love, love witnessing people at retreat, or in my one-to-ones, as they come become grounded, and they become back to themselves, and you can see that light in their eyes again, and you can see that body relaxation, and that ease and that flow. It's really something very, very beautiful. And I know you witnessed it, that in your work as well, when you're with people and even in your own children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's such a special kind. It's a softening.
Yeah.
It really is a softening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I just love it. I know, I mean, we've talked about a lot of things that light you up, but if you were to think about all the pieces and all those moving pieces in the work that you do, what is the thing that kind of comes to mind that does light you up the most when you're out there
It's,
working with people or inspiring them or helping them?
I find that my work tends to change within the seasons as well. And actually the answer to that question is ever changing, I feel. But right now I'm really I'm working a lot, teaching retreats, and
Yeah.
back in the teaching seat, teaching at retreats and workshops, and conducting those wonderful sessions, and introducing people to aromatherapy and how to work with Mother Nature in this way. And I honestly feel like it is that softening. It's that
Yeah.
after taking a couple of deep, connective, restorative breaths,
Mhm.
after anointing with an essential oil that they kind of feel called to use, or to anoint their body with, it's that softening, and it's that, and that is my purpose. I truly know that now, that my purpose is to help people reconnect to their true essence, back into their body, back into their soul, to help calm the nervous system, to really just hone it back in again. And when I see that, when I can witness that in someone, oh,
Mm.
that brings me so much joy. That brings me so much joy, and it lights me up in such a way, because I feel like I am living and breathing my purpose. It's incredible. And I feel so honored and so blessed to be able to work in this way, and to be able to work with the plants in this way, and to formulate remedies that help people, and to it's just wonderful. I'm so grateful. And I feel like I'm only just beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm only just scratching the surface.
Yeah. Well, and as
Yeah.
you grow and change, and it's this is the first chapter of a very, of the book of what you're doing. I mean, it's very interesting to see how that's kind of evolving, and as your children grow, as you change, it will just become that much more, and that much, it's who knows, maybe you'll be traveling with it. You never know what you'll be doing, as things change. I know we talked about working together, and I can imagine what that looks like. I've planted the seeds, and I'm tending to that garden to the time when it's right, even if I come a bit closer for retreat. I could imagine taking people through a beautiful session in nature, and having you there with me with all of these beautiful remedies, and teaching people right out in the nature spaces how to use these and how to connect. Yeah, I have the vision of what that will look like, and it just feels amazing. And just teaching out in nature, with nature, connected to nature. And who knows what season. I have a feeling it's going to be a fall season, but we'll see. And
Fall is my
that
favorite.
excites me, right? It excites me because I can just see it happening. Yeah, it's just a beautiful evolution of how I feel like we're going to really continue to lead people, that are really exhausted and burnt out and tired and disconnected, discombobulated. And we're going to lead them through transformation and change, and really be able to embody something they've been longing for and they've forgotten.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It's going to be so potent and so powerful and so beautiful. And I cannot wait for that day. I cannot wait.
I'm
We were
excited.
meant to meet. We were meant to
Yeah.
meet. That was absolutely divine timing that we met when we did.
Yeah.
And it, yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait.
I know. It's exciting. I love percolating all these things. It's like you with your remedies and your things. I'm like, ooh, well, we could mix all these beautiful things together and who knows what we come up with, right? And I think
Absolutely.
I love the development of the soulful connections. I love how the universe brings those of us together that are working together, in whatever realm we are, whether it's a distance to start or, and how that evolves. I love, and that's my inner curiosity. I mean, when I saw it come up to be able to apply even to be a facilitator at Rocky's restorative retreat last year, I was like, that sounds cool. Sure. So I emailed away, oh my God, this would be amazing. And sent it in and thought, well, really, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Why not? And I mean, I came all by myself and had some
You
amazing,
did. You
I drove
did.
by, yeah, I did. And I'm like, well, and I'm an introvert. So it's really, I'm really good at
Yeah.
extroverting, but I'm definitely an introvert. And so it's interesting because the universe tested me on the way. My wheel bearing went in my
I
truck, and I
remember
got
that.
all
Yeah.
the things. I'm going, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what's going on? So I missed the opening. I
Yeah.
missed all. I'm like, darn it, anyway. But anyways, nonetheless, I got to have a very interesting journey all on my own there. But it was so cool because I remember walking in, going, "Oh, you got this.
Yeah. And I
Just
remember you.
survive."
Did you not? You saw some incredible Northern Lights as well, right? You
Yes.
got there on the
Yeah.
Friday, and it was like
Yeah.
one of the most amazing
It was so epic.
showings of the Northern Lights. I don't even think we've had one that good since. Like it was
Nope.
incredible. And I remember you
Oh,
showing me the pictures, and you were like, "This hasn't been filtered. This was how bright and beautiful
it
it
was
was in the
incredible.
sky."
It was so
Yeah,
incredible. And I remember where my hotel was. I went because there was this back alley, and people were starting to come out and they're looking, they're just like, wow. And I remember laying down, and I'm right in Canmore. And I'm laying down. There was a bunch of us. I'm like, I'm just gonna lay down. Who cares, right? And I just was
yeah.
watching it just dance in the mountains, and it was literally 360, like all the way around. And
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
Northern Lights are incredible. It's like the spirits are dancing. It's just so beautiful. And it went on for hours and hours. And I was just like, what a gift. It was just yeah, we've had a couple here that have been similar, but that one was very, very potent and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like perfectly timed as well for that weekend because it was
Oh, yeah.
such a beautiful weekend with so much so much magic.
Yeah.
Just felt like it was
Right? And that is that reminder to be really purposeful and present. And, whether, you're chasing the moon or the stars or the sunsets and sunrises, those all offer us also those deep connections to nature and those
yeah.
reminders, like I said, I was laying on the ground watching the sky dance. How more present can I be? You know,
Yeah. How
it's
beautiful.
very interesting. And I think that's was a big part of that weekend. And also I incorporate that in my retreats is bringing people to being super present and being in the moment. We don't have to do anything. We can just be. So that's,
A great reminder. That's such a
it
great
is.
reminder to be rather than doing to be. And I think a lot of the time I think we have that guilt as well. I do. I
Yeah.
do for
Yeah.
sure. If I have a moment in my day, gosh, I should be doing something. No, actually we can just be.
Yeah.
And we can listen to the birds and we
Yeah.
can sky and just feel the warmth of the sun
Yeah.
on our skin.
Yeah.
It's enough.
It
It's
is.
enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Such amazing, connection to that is coming back to realizing that, we are enough in who we are and how we're showing up and what we're doing. We don't have to, and that's where the busyness of the social media and the chaos and stuff, especially I find
Mm.
cities very busy that way because people are just they're going 300 miles an hour all day long, 7 days a week. I'm like, holy, how do you do this? I can't, and I have a small town. I'm lucky I've got, nature all around me. But that
Yeah,
is, that is what just makes the work that we do even more potent, is
yeah,
that reconnection, remembrance, and invitation to be and to come home.
absolutely. I do. I
Beautiful.
do.
It's amazing. So if you were to leave anybody with some words of wisdom or inspiration, or they're like, wow, I want to learn about breath work and essential oils together. What would what could they do? What questions could they ask? How do they step into a space of being vulnerable and asking some questions?
Mm. Well, firstly, I would, the one piece that I would say is it doesn't need to be complicated, because we have our breath. It's free and readily available to us. We don't need any fancy meditation pillows. We don't need to be sat in crisscross applesauce. We don't need to do any of that. If we can just find, if we can, just a few moments of our day, with or without an essential oil. If you have an essential oil, you whatever you're feeling called to use, work with your intuition and just pop a drop on in the palm of your hand, and cup your hands over your nose and take 3 deep breaths with a big exhale. And that's it. And just see how you feel. Notice how you feel before and then afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's really where the question lies,
Yeah.
How do you feel before? Take those 3 restorative breaths, with or without the essential oil, it doesn't matter. Or even if you have something in nature, pick a couple of pine needles and roll them around in your hands. Pick up a sprig of spruce or fir, and just roll that in your hands. It doesn't need to be an essential oil. You don't need to spend any money on anything. And just take some deep breaths. And how do you feel afterwards? And I guarantee the answer will be better.
Yeah.
Better. I feel better. I feel more present. Oh, I feel like I can breathe again,
Yeah.
and that's all we need. I think we overcomplicate all of these things.
Yes.
I think that it doesn't need to be fancy. Nothing needs to be, as I say, you don't even need to buy an essential oil. We have our breath readily available to us. And just taking a few connected breaths, just being intentional about breathing deeply, really breathe in, bring that beautiful oxygen deep into your lungs. Imagine that oxygen coming in deep, 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 right to the bottom of your lungs, really expanding that chest out. Just taking 3 of those, it takes 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then notice, how do you feel afterwards? And that would be the question.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And just making it that simple.
Just that simple. If you have trees, if you're out on a nature walk, if you're walking your dog, if you're picking up your kids from school or camp or whatever, just notice what's around you. And just, as I say, pick a couple of pine needles, pick a leaf from the tree, roll it in your hands.
Yeah. The power.
Connecting with nature that way.
Yeah.
The power, absolutely.
Yeah. And just being super present. That'll bring you from wherever chaos, whatever is going on, it brings you right back. It's that instant right back. Right.
Whatever is going on in your life,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the moment has you feeling,
Yeah.
whatever emotion, whatever is happening, whatever is going on, good, bad, the ups, the downs, connecting to your breath, a few deep restorative breaths will take you out of that moment. Will take you from that kind of chaos, that, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so stressed, I'm so burnt out, I'm so exhausted. I have 2 small kids. I'm always so exhausted and so burnt out and so overwhelmed, and just taking, just bringing it back and taking a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
That's all we need. And it will bring you back into your body. It will calm your nervous system. It will take you from that sympathetic nervous state where our body doesn't want to be a whole lot. It's okay sometimes, you know, we need a tiny bit of stress, otherwise we wouldn't get anything done. Bringing us back, actually, the parasympathetic, that rest and digest, having a calm and regulated nervous system is how your body works to its optimal best. That's when we can think clearly. That's when we can breathe. That's when our body feels restored and all of our organs can work in harmony. That's the place where we want to be seeking and striving to be the majority of our day. And by connecting to our breath and by using nature or just placing your hands on a tree. And who cares what you look like? Who cares if someone thinks, what is she doing? What is she doing? Oh, hugging that tree, putting your hands on that tree. Or just popping your hands on the earth. You know, if you're sat down, just placing your hands on the earth and just taking a few connected breaths. It is that simple. It's really that simple. And whatever is happening externally, it will bring you out of that chaotic state, out of that, I can't think, you know, I can't catch a breath, I can't think clearly. It will bring you out of that and back into your body.
Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So
And
amazing.
it's, you know what, and it's something that I think we all have to work at. You know, I haven't cracked this. I'm still constantly having to come back to it and having to remind myself.
Yeah.
All the time. You know, no one is perfect. No one has got the answers here. We are all working together as a community. But you know what? We have people in our community that is there, that is there to support us and to show us these wonderful tools that we can use. And you sure enough find something that works for you.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. I love it. It's just love it. So I'm so grateful to learn so much more about you and to be able to go home and have the reminders of some more tools, even just for myself, and that I now can share. And we'll be able to share this podcast, and I'll share all the information of how people can find you, your website, all that beautiful stuff as well. Because I know there's going to be so many people that are going to be like, wow, I want to learn more. I want to be in touch. And so we'll make sure that that happens. And just in listening to the podcast, people are going to go home with some beautiful tools and reminders as well. And I love that. And that's why I love being able to have this space to be able to do this, because we're, 12 hours apart. So we can't just do it in person. But I'm just so grateful to have you in my space and in my world and to be connected. So thank you so much for being on here and saying yes. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for everything you do and for, creating this space where people can come and to learn more. It's just such a blessing. So you are doing incredible work, and thank you. Thank you for asking me. This is such an honor. I was so excited.
It's amazing. Thank you.